Good morning to all. I am Ayush Srivastav. My entry number is 19BC024, and I am from Computer Science Engineering Department. The movie I chose is Hindu Sarkar, which was released in 2017. The poster of the movie is here, and the credits are as follows. So the cast involves Kriti Kulari as Hindu Sarkar, then Tota Roy Chaudhary as Naveen Sarkar, Neil Nitin Mukesh as Sanjay Gandhi or the Chief, and Anupam Kher as Nana Pradhan. It was directed, written, and screenplay by Madhur Bhandarkar. It was produced by Bharat Shah. It has IMDb rating of 6. I'll move to the story part of the movie. So the movie has actually two aspects in it, and one part of the movie is revolving as Hindu Sarkar as Hindu, and how emergency changed her life and introduced her to inherent own self. And the other part is the Indira Sarkar, or how this whole world's largest democracy was brought down on me overnight. So Indu is actually an orphan girl, and she's smart. She's a smart and sorted girl, but she's having a stuttering problem, which has due to which she has been rejected by many parents, which has visited in the orphanage, which has led to losing of her confidence, and which has really affected her personality. So she has been told to abandon her interest in the poetry, and she has been advised to start pursuing a dream of becoming a good housewife. So she'll start that, and she'll start looking for a ideal husband, and she'll start. Then in the process, she'll meet this guy Naveen Sarkar, who's actually a government employee, and Naveen Sarkar will actually look at the not he'll not look at the flaws of Hindu, but the qualities of Hindu, and they both will fall for each other, and they'll both get married. Now Naveen is some a guy which has seen the hardships or struggle of life, and and he want to earn a lot of money and lead a good life. So Indu will start living a happy life in the shadow of her husband. Suddenly, emergency was imposed, and so Naveen uh, is influenced by his ministers or fellow people that to see this emergency as an opportunity to earn a lot of money or pursue his dreams. One day, what will happen that Hindu will get to Hindu was walking down in a street, and she will see that there was a slum which was being demolished by a government official. So there she will meet with these two poor kids who were being separated by their parents. She'll bring those kids to her home, and but what will happen that Naveen is not being able to see beyond his greed, that how these people are being affected, how they are being suffered. So they just see these kids or these people who are against the government as hurdles in the development. He just disapproves of the kids and asks Hindu to choose between him and kids. Hindu will choose kids, and she'll walk away from the home. While searching for the kids' parents on the street, she will meet these social activist groups, and she'll get to know about this underground movement against the government. So, meanwhile, what will happen is these kids will be labeled as Naxalite by the police, and they'll be snatched away from the Hindu. So, which has really affected Hindu life. And Naveen, in order to as to show to teach a lesson to Hindu, he will start divorce proceedings. But Hindu will not resist it, and she'll give the divorce. So Hindu's struggle now, Hindu's paradigm shift will happen in Hindu's life, and she'll now be struggling against the oppressive government. And meanwhile, Naveen will also lose the job because Hindu was her ex-wife, so his ex-wife. So Hindu will be arrested in the process, and she'll be tortured badly. Later, emergency was left, and now Indu finds her whole world lost because she lost her husband, which though he was misguided, but he was a loving husband. Finally, she'll seek out she'll start finding those kids and hopes to start a new life. I'll move to the human rights violation which I observed in the movie. Though this movie was based on the whole background of emergency, so it involved many, but I'll focus on the few. So one thing which was clearly visible in the movie was forced sterilization, and movie has it has really shown that how the people who were below the age of 18 or who are old age, which was not even part of the family planning scheme of the government, were actually picked up and forced sterilized even twice also, just to increase the government data. Then we'll see the destroying of the slums or evicting the poor people out of their colonies and homes, and they were being destroyed and bulldozed by the government officials overnight during the rain, which has and affecting so many lives, so many people losing their parents, and so many kids losing their parents and all. Also, we'll see the censorship during this regime as a very strange kind of censorship. Also, the usual censorship of press and media is visible, but the censorship of like banning some certain actors' songs and those kind of thing. Also, in the movie, they have shown very correctly that people were being restricted from having political conversations. As in, you can see this posters where it has written that avoid rumors and loose talk and do your duty. Then this was a scene in which Naveen was sitting in a bar and he was conversating with his friend. But in the behind, you can see that written political conversations are banned. So which are totally telling us what kind of environment would it have been, and that the government is even fearing the conversations among people. So now I'll move to illegal detention by police. So the government passed such acts that allowed them to pick up any person and put it in the jail
Two
without
minutes
even.
more.
Then which was the people were tortured and politically against the who were against the government were kept into the prison. I'll move to the articles. These are the article which was being violated. uh, I'll start my conclusions now. So my conclusion is actually divided into two parts. One is how Hindus in Naveen life was being affected by this. So Hindu is actually started to believe some society's belief, which were not actually his aspirations, but she started to believe them and she started pursuing them, which later she's find in a dilemma. So we have aspirations and goals which are not ours, but we start to believe them and we pursue them, but later on we'll find that these are not our own, aligning with our personality, and we will be in the dilemma. Now, Naveen's life is actually based on achieving materialistic goals, and but we'll see at what cost these all we can achieve, like on achieving money or earning money on the lives of, on the pain of and pain and sorrow of people is deeply saddening. And people, those kind of people who are seeking afsar in apda are actually the very problematic. Now we'll also see Naveen as a corrupt official. So I'll like to raise the issue that corrupt officials are an enormous hurdle in human rights developments, and the people's basic human rights of life, health, education, property, and are being violated by this corrupt system. I'll move to the government part of the house the of the movie. So
Ayush, conclude fast.
so the leaders need to be more careful with their words. Like this sterilization was not government didn't said that to sterilize that of particular section of people, but what happened is ki the officials who are being government officials who had the notion that certain section of people have more children, and so that they targeted the certain sections of the society. So this led to the forced sterilization of, or indirect genocide of the Muslim population during that time, and it was well depicted in the movie. Now, I'll also like to raise that whoever is anti-government those days were labeled as anti-national, and those kids also were being called by the police as Naxalite, which is actually so hypocritical that the government is calling them as anti-national, and then maintenance of internal security. So government these days can curb any dissent in the name of
Ayush,
internal security.
faster.
Internal security. Then I would like to raise one point that the kind of censorship we saw during the emergency didn't end with it. Once a institution is undermined, it will be done again. New governments will find any new ways to do that, and however supreme the institution may be, it will be curbed again. Now, finally, I would like to say that democracy, Plato said that democracy leads to tyranny. The border is very thin for the people, for the leaders, and especially for the charismatic leaders, it is very thin. They don't know when they will cross the border of development and become the dictators and tyrannical leaders. I would like to
Okay,
these.
stop. Go forward. Go forward. Okay, fine. Ayush, believe me, it is an amazing presentation to hear. But since we have a little bit pressed on time, always we have to remember that as well.
Morning all, I am Ayush Satyam from Computer Science Department, second year. The movie that I've chosen is Shooting Dogs from 2005. The IMDb rating of movie is 7.7 out of 10, and the Rotten Tomato critic score is 85%. And here is the theatrical and DVD poster of the movie. Moving on to the credits and cast, we have Michael Canton Jones, who has directed the movie, and he was an actual BBC reporter present in Rwanda at the time of Rwandan genocide. And the screenplay has been written by Richard Alvin and David Wollstonecraft. And moving on to the cast, we have John Hurt playing the role of Father Christopher, who is a Christian priest in a school in capital city of Kigali in Rwanda. We have Hugh Dancy, who is playing the role of Joe Connor, who is an English teacher in the same school. Dominic Horowitz is playing the role of Captain Delon, who is United Nations Peacekeeping Force Chief. Claire Hope has played the role of Marie, who is a minority Tutsi girl in Rwanda. Steve Tosson is playing the role of Roland, who is father of Marie. And Victor Power is playing the role of Julius, who is one of the major Hutu antagonists in the movie. So the story unwraps in Central African country of Rwanda in the time of mid-90s, and there is ongoing conflict between the two majority ethnic groups of Rwanda, namely Hutus and Tutsis. A priest named Father Christopher and an English teacher named Joe Connor run a Christian missionary school in the capital city of Kigali alongside a church. So in the late 93, the president of Rwanda, who belongs to the Hutu ethnicity, was assassinated, and this sparks a massive outrage in the Hutu community. So all of the Hutus start hating Tutsis. They already hated Tutsis, but this event sparked a massive outrage in them, and they started killing all the Tutsis. Like I've included a scene from the movie where this Hutu man is explaining to Joe Connor the Tutsis want to become masters again, and if they can shoot the president, then no Hutu is safe. So they must protect themselves or die. So to protect themselves, they started killing Tutsis. So terrified by the mass killings by Hutus, around 2,500 Tutsis all across the capital city of Kigali gathered at the school where UN was present, the school that was run by Father Christopher and Joe Connor. And they came here to seek shelter and protection from the UN. The story takes a turning point where 10 UN soldiers were kidnapped and brutally killed. And those 10 UN soldiers were also in the duty of protecting the president the Hutu Rwandan president. But Hutu extremists did this on purpose, and they got inspired by the events in Somalia. Somalia saw a similar situation where Somalian extremists killed 18 American soldiers, forcing withdrawal of American troops from Somalia. So Hutus thought that the similar situation might work for UN and Rwanda. So moving into the human rights and issues, throughout the movie, it is very evident that all of the Hutus simply hate Tutsis, and this was very evident by the act of dehumanization in the movie. Like this scene that I've included from the movie, Murray is explaining to Joe Connor that Hutus call all Tutsis as cockroaches, and the second scene is where Tutsis came for shelter in the church, and Hutu government outside is propagating hate speech and propaganda on national radio and saying that cockroaches are hiding in the churches. So they don't consider them as humans, and they are considered subhumans, and they are massively hated by the Hutu community of Rwanda. So militancy was another issue that was persistent in the movie. The normal Rwandans, like the common people of Rwanda, along with the military and police, they all gathered and formed a militia and started killing Tutsis. Like in this scene, Captain Delon, who is chief of United Nations peacekeeping force, he says that no one's safety can be guaranteed now. So even he was frightened, and this violence was more of state-sponsored violence, institutionalized killing rather than militancy. And racism and ethnic discrimination. Like I've seen that Tutsi people were discriminated by Hutus, and this is quite evident in movie. But they were also passively discriminated by whites, the international community that was present there. Like this woman is a BBC reporter in the movie, and she says that over here they're just dead Africans. The exact word that she used was, over here they're just piece of dead black flesh. So they were there to help and support them from the side of international community, but in their inner conscience they were actually discriminating against Tutsis, and they did not have any kind of sympathy, like true sympathy for Tutsis. And lack of basic facilities was another issue. Like when all Tutsis came into the church for shelter, they ran out of supplies like food, clean drinking water, and fuel for cooking the food in just a couple of days. And this scene was quite shocking, where Murray comes to Father Christopher asking that they have no fuel for cooking the food, and Father Christopher, being a head priest in a Christian Catholic country, says that burn the Bibles. So we can imagine that how was the situation was back then in Rwanda. And another scene was where Murray is asking that can they get a plate of rice before them. So it's unimaginable that people are so fed up of Tutsis and of Hutus and the genocide that was going outside, that all they care about, they can't even comprehend that their life was in danger. All they wanted was just food. So the situation was very worse back in those days in Rwanda. So genocide was another human rights violation. Like the whole part of movie revolves around genocide. And if we compare this with the Gregory Stanton framework of genocide, then we can see that Rwandan population has gone through every stage of genocide step by step. In this scene, there is a former minister in the government, and he says that you're no doubt aware what Nazis attempted to do with Jews. We are facing a similar situation here. So Hutus and Tutsis both classified themselves as separate entities and symbolized each other with bad things and discriminated against each other. Like Tutsis weren't allowed to sell their crops in the market. There were travel bans were imposed on Tutsis, so they were widely discriminated across Rwanda. And as mentioned earlier, that Tutsis were dehumanized, and all of the Hutus organized and polarized all other Hutus who were not actively opposing Tutsis, or the international community that were protecting Tutsis. They tried to mobilize and polarize all of them, and they started forming militias with common people and police and army, and they prepared for it. And act of persecution is like identifying the businesses, homes, and physically separating them from the Hutu population. So in this scene, we can see that this woman is saying that they're making a list of Tutsi families in the area so that it's easier for them to kill them later on. And finally, they did kill them at the last. So the relevant UDHR articles are Article 1, 2, 3, 5, Article 6. Article 6 was a big problem because the government was pro-Hutu, and they also wanted that Tutsis must be killed. So the Tutsis really had nowhere to go. Like there was no presence of active judiciary in the country, and government was pro-Hutu, so Tutsis were helpless in the country. So they were not recognized, and they were not held by any law or authoritarian figure. And other articles that were relevant to the movie were Article 9, 12, and 22. And in conclusion, like this is such a, I would say, gut-wrenching movie. It was quite disturbing to watch as well, but it was quite gut-wrenching. And the first question that you are compelled to ask after you see the movie is that could it have been prevented? And the simple answer is yes. Um, Although they went through every stage of genocide, but the slightest amount of political will could have prevented this genocide. And differentiate but don't discriminate. Like it's basic human nature to differentiate themselves into different groups so that they can identify themselves and they can self-validate themselves. But when this differentiation is combined with the element of hate, people start discriminating against each other. And when they discriminate so much that they don't consider the other party as humans. So dehumanization is the most you can hate somebody. Like you hate someone to that extent that you don't consider them as humans at all. And even if you hate somebody, you impose trade bans, you um, isolate them culturally, but when it gets to the point of violence, it's a point of no return. Violence is like a chain reaction. If there is one activity of violence, then there would be another, and the last thing that we know is that people end up killing the whole population. And similar thing happened in Rwanda. And a powerful and active political alternative to government
One
should be present.
more.
Okay, sir. A powerful and and active political alternative should be present, be it international community or be it the judiciary of country. It should be present so that the affected group should have somewhere to go. And lack of political will was quite evident in the movie, and even the slightest amount of political will from national or international community could have prevented this genocide. And finally, we can say that it all boils down to economy and power. Like the local government did it for the change of power, and so they did not protect Tutsis, and international government did not see any economic or political benefits from protecting the poor Tutsi people in Rwanda. So they just left 3,000 people in the school to die, and in the coming 100 days, 800,000 people were killed in Rwanda. So that's all from my side. This is bibliography, and thank you.
Thank you, Ayush, for a wonderful presentation. So